Get back to economy, sir. This seat isn't for your kind. That's what flight attendant Camila Torres said, loud, cold, and without a flicker of hesitation. At 10:01 a.m. aboard SkyPulse flight SP-204 at LAX, her voice didn't shake, it sliced, and the man she was staring down, black, bearded, dressed in a plain white t-shirt and jeans, didn't say a word, not yet. In 15 minutes, she'd be out of a job, along with her co-attendant, the captain, and one other crew member, but at that moment, she was certain he didn't belong in seat 1A. Before we go deeper into this story, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you're here for stories that reveal truth and justice in real time, hit subscribe and share this video. This one will stay with you. His name was John Marshall, 45, billionaire, founder, chairman, and CEO of SkyPulse Airlines. But today, no boardroom, no fanfare, just a man walking onto his own plane, hidden behind a full beard and humility. He wasn't here to be seen. He was here to see. Because social media had been buzzing, Reddit threads, anonymous tips, passenger complaints, stories of discrimination, of wealthy-looking travelers bribing crew for first-class seats, of black passengers downgraded or humiliated if they didn't look the part. John was done watching from behind a desk. He came to see the rot for himself. And Layla Carter, his trusted assistant, was right behind him. Sharp black blazer, pencil skirt, phone recording silently from the side pocket. They boarded early, but even earlier was Olivia Wentworth, age 50, old money, Chanel suit, diamond tennis bracelet, and an open envelope of crisp $100 bills she casually folded into her passport like a tip menu. She'd seen John, she'd seen his clothes, and she saw opportunity. "That's my seat," she lied, pointing at 1A. "The airline upgraded me. He can sit wherever people like that usually go." Camila didn't ask questions. She didn't verify a manifest. She didn't scan a ticket. She just looked John up and down, smirked at Olivia's envelope, and said it again. "Sir, get back to economy. This seat's been reserved for someone who fits our image." John calmly raised his boarding pass. "Platinum, 1A. This is my seat." Aiden Brooks, the second attendant, barely glanced at it. "Payment glitch flagged your name," he said, tapping the tablet. "Card declined, system override." It wasn't true. A minor payment system crash at 9:55 a.m. had frozen multiple premium bookings in limbo. John's ticket was perfectly valid, but none of that mattered to them. What mattered was perception. Olivia waved her cash in Camilla's direction. "Let's not make this complicated. I'm a legacy member. I have lunch with SkyPulse's East Coast partners." Camilla's reply was immediate. "Understood, Ms. Wentworth." She turned back to John. "Step aside now, or I will have you removed." In seat 3B, Michael Grayson watched, jaw tight. The tension was thick, cut only by the quiet chime of a phone unlocking. Grace Kim, an independent journalist seated in 2C, had already hit record. John didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply looked at Camila and said, "You're going to regret this moment." Layla stepped closer. "We're logging everything, audio and visual." "Of course you are," Olivia snorted. "Probably looking for a lawsuit payout." Camila leaned in. "You're holding up priority boarding. Move it." "Or what?" John said, voice low, controlled. Aiden chimed in, annoyed. "You don't look like first class." "You don't act like first class," Olivia added. "And you certainly don't dress like first class." John's voice didn't rise. It deepened. "Is first class sold by fabric or character? Ms. Wentworth?" She laughed. "It's sold to people who belong. Clearly, you don't." Grace's camera panned to Olivia's envelope. "Can you repeat that?" she asked. "The audience at home would love to hear it again." Camilla took a step back, but doubled down. If you don't comply, I'll contact the captain. As if on cue, Jacob Hayes's voice crackled through the intercom. If the passenger in 1A does not appear on the current manifest, crew is authorized to reseat as needed to ensure premium service. Layla leaned in to John. We've got everything. She took a bribe. The system flagged your name only because of the glitch. John nodded. Let them speak. Let them dig. Olivia tilted her head. This whole thing is embarrassing. For you. I mean, John responded, still steady. Embarrassment is when the truth is revealed and you realize the lie you've been living. Michael spoke up. I saw him board. He was first. That's his seat. Stay out of it, Aiden snapped. This is none of your business. It's all of our business, Grace said. This is exactly why people film now. Camilla grabbed the boarding pass from John's hand and held it up like a challenge. This isn't enough. You're not on the list. She is. No, I'm not, Olivia muttered. Forgetting her script, Camilla shot her a look. Just sit down. Ms. Wentworth? John turned to Layla. Still recording? Every second, she replied. Camilla smirked, crumpling the boarding pass in her hand. You'll thank us when you're back where you belong. John didn't move. He just said one thing, quiet, controlled. I built this airline to make sure people like you couldn't do this. But I see now. We missed a spot. Olivia waved her envelope again. Let's get moving already. Grace stood up, phone raised. It's all on record, the money, the lies, the treatment, Michael added. You're going to be famous for the wrong reason. And still, John stood, calm, silent. Then, finally, he whispered to Camilla, 15 minutes from now, your badge won't work. Camilla's face twitched. Excuse me? John looked around the cabin. Don't excuse anything. Just watch. And with that, the reckoning began. Camilla didn't move. She stared at John Marshall like she hadn't just been warned by the very man who owned the airline she worked for, her lips tightening with disbelief. But she pushed forward anyway, raising her voice so the other passengers could hear it clearly. Sir, Ms. Wentworth has already made a generous contribution to SkyPulse. She's cleared for 1A. You need to move. Now. Aiden, already rattled by Grace's phone camera and the thick tension pressing down on every row, jabbed at the manifest tablet again. The seat shows pending. He's not officially cleared. Olivia, now seated with one leg draped confidently over the other, fanned herself with a boarding stub and smirked. Honestly, are we still talking about this? Just escort him out. This is ridiculous. John didn't move. He stayed standing in front of his seat, his tone still measured. Your system had a glitch. I paid. I boarded early. I have a confirmed seat. But you're choosing to let money speak louder than facts. Olivia scoffed, turning to Camilla. Do I need to add another 1,000 to help move this along? She dangled a fresh $100 bill between two manicured fingers. Michael Grayson stood up 3 rows back. That's enough. You're literally bribing airline staff in front of everyone. You think we don't see what's happening? Camilla turned to him sharply. Sir, sit down or I'll have you removed as well. Grace's voice rang out steady. You're threatening passengers for objecting to corruption. Let the camera keep rolling. Layla stepped closer to John's side, eyes focused, voice soft. It's all being logged, sir. Audio's crisp. Passenger testimonies, too. Camilla's face twisted with stress. You don't get to threaten me with a phone. I'm enforcing protocol, John responded. You're enforcing bias. And it's showing, Aiden mumbled. He's probably just some compensation seeker. Look at him, Olivia added. Exactly. Look at how he's dressed. This is first class, not some discount train station. John's eyes flicked to Olivia with the quietest flash of disdain. You think clothes define value? I think you've bought too many mirrors and not enough wisdom. Olivia's lip curled. Spoken like someone who shops in bulk. The insult lingered, sour and unwelcome. Michael raised his voice. He showed his boarding pass. I saw him walk on early. What else do you need? Grace added. And Ms. Wentworth offered money. We all saw it. I'm filming every second. Camilla's eyes darted from face to face. You're disrupting the peace of this flight, John said firmly. You disrupted it the moment you chose cash over confirmation. Aiden tapped again at the glitching manifest screen. Still not showing clearance, Layla whispered. I submitted the override from HQ. They'll get the update in 60 seconds, John said to Aiden. When it arrives, I want to hear your apology loud enough for the passengers to hear. Olivia barked a laugh. You really think any of us care what you hear? Camilla pressed on, stepping even closer. Sir, for the last time, either move or security will remove you. Ms. Wentworth is seated. John nodded slowly. That's your final word? Yes. Good, John said. Let it go on record that you denied a confirmed passenger their seat due to attire and cash influence. Aiden's face twitched. His fingers trembled slightly over the screen. Maybe we made a mistake. I mean, Olivia interrupted sharply. Don't start second-guessing. We're already in motion, Camilla snapped. Aiden, focus. He's not cleared. That's what the screen says. Grace took one step down the aisle. Mr. Brooks, she said softly, how much did Ms. Wentworth give you? The question landed like thunder. Olivia froze. Camilla turned. Aiden blanched. What? Grace raised her phone. We saw the exchange, the envelope, the cash. How much did she give you? Aiden looked at the tablet, then at Camilla, then back at John. 5,000, he mumbled. The air left the cabin like someone had punched a hole through it. Michael whispered. Say that again. Aiden's voice cracked. 5,000. She offered it. Said she couldn't miss her meeting. Said the guy in 1A wouldn't care, Olivia hissed. You idiot, Camilla gasped. You weren't supposed to say anything. Grace zoomed in on Aiden's face. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. John looked at him, unblinking. And you took it? Aiden's voice dropped to a whisper. Camilla said it happens sometimes. Quietly. For regulars. We thought you were... no one. Camilla turned to him, furious. You liar! Don't! Aiden snapped back, face burning. You said we were due for a good report, that Olivia was close to senior execs. You said she'd tip if we made room. And you were dumb enough to admit it on a plane full of phones? Olivia snapped. Panic cutting through her polished tone. Layla's voice came through like a verdict. Audio's recorded, footage is saved, admission logged. John looked straight at Camilla. You sold a seat that wasn't yours to sell. You misused your authority. You let a passenger buy her way past process and dignity. Camilla took a shaky breath. I was following the situation. No, John said. You were following her cash. The silence after that was brutal. Olivia's bravado cracked into disbelief. Camilla looked like she wanted to shrink into the floor. Aiden lowered the tablet like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Layla stepped forward. HQ manifest is updated. Confirmed. John Marshall. Seat 1A. Fully cleared. John didn't smile. He didn't need to. You wanted to remove me, he said quietly. From a seat I paid for. On an airline I built. Because I didn't look expensive enough to matter. And you were willing to do it in public. On camera. Backed by a bribe. Olivia tried to speak, but no words came. Just a trembling jaw and a red flush creeping up her neck. Aiden opened his mouth, then closed it. Camilla looked to the cockpit. Captain? But Jacob Hayes didn't respond. Not yet. The cabin had turned into a courtroom, and the jury was already deliberating. Grace lowered her phone. "Mr. Marshall, I hope you understand. This footage could change everything." "It already has," John said, and he sat down in 1A like he had never been challenged, not as a power move, but as a reminder that every inch of that seat had already been earned, not by status, not by bribery, but by integrity, and the courage to stand when silence was easier. Camilla's voice broke the silence like a blade through cloth, harsh, loud, and panicked. "Show me your ID right now, if you're going to keep claiming you belong in that seat. Prove it." John Marshall didn't flinch. He sat still in 1A, his fingers resting calmly on the armrest, while Layla stood beside him without blinking. Camilla's tone sharpened, desperate to claw back authority. "We're not playing games anymore. Either verify your identity or leave the seat." Aiden, still clutching the tablet, tried to back her up with a weak nod. "It's protocol." Olivia folded her arms, glaring at John like she had just stepped off a royal balcony. "He's pretending, probably printed that boarding pass himself." Michael Grayson spoke from the aisle, arms crossed. "He already showed the pass, and he boarded before anyone else. Y'all are just hoping no one's watching closely." Grace Kim didn't stop filming. If anything, she zoomed in. "They're hoping the cameras will turn off." "Not happening." Camilla stepped forward again, her shoes clicking sharply on the cabin floor. "ID. Now." John looked up at her, calm as a quiet storm. "Did you ask Olivia for hers?" "She's verified." "No," he said, cutting her off. "She offered you cash. You accepted. Now you demand documents from the man whose name was printed on the ticket before the system crashed." Camilla's mouth opened, but no words came. Aiden looked down at the floor, jaw clenched. From the overhead speaker, Captain Jacob Hayes's voice returned, more irritated than before. "This disruption needs to end. Final warning to the gentleman in 1A. Comply with crew instructions or be removed." John leaned back slightly. "Still hiding in the cockpit. Captain Hayes?" The cabin stirred. A woman in 2B gasped. Michael muttered, "That's not how a captain's supposed to act." Olivia stood up now, pointing toward John. "You're holding this plane hostage because you want attention. If you were really elite, you wouldn't dress like airport furniture." Grace snapped her camera toward her. "That's your idea of class?" John looked at Olivia and said, with no malice but full weight, "You've mistaken luxury for decency, and mistaken your voice for authority." Olivia snorted. "This is absurd." Then louder, "Security!" Camilla turned to Aiden. "Call for backup. He's non-compliant." Aiden didn't move. He stared at John like he was realizing, too late, that something was off, that maybe the man in the t-shirt had more power in his silence than Olivia had in all her cash. John glanced at Layla. "Let's continue logging this." She nodded, already noting timestamps. "We're capturing every word." Michael moved up a row. "You're embarrassing yourselves now. This isn't protocol. This is discrimination," Olivia snapped. "Stay out of it." "This doesn't concern you," Michael said. "It concerns every black man who's ever been told he's too casual to be taken seriously. It concerns all of us." Camilla's eyes darted between them, her confidence thinning. "You're twisting everything," John said. "Then let's untwist it. Open the manifest, verify the payment logs, and check the update from HQ," Aiden finally muttered. HQ update came through. It confirms 1A was paid and cleared for Marshall. Olivia froze. "That's impossible," Camilla whispered. "That system it glitched." "I saw it," John asked. "And what did you see when you chose to ignore protocol and accept her money?" Silence. Thick. Heavy. Olivia's fingers dug into her purse. Grace's phone never wavered. Layla folded her arms. and then it broke. Camilla's voice cracked. We were told to accommodate priority contributors. She offered the cash, I figured. Figured what? John asked. That I wouldn't speak up? That you were bluffing, she shouted. That you were just another guy trying to score a free seat looking like... That! There it was. Raw, loud, ugly. The words echoed. The passengers heard it. And now no one could unhear it, Michael whispered. There it is, Grace said. Keep rolling. We just crossed the line. Camilla looked around, suddenly aware of how many eyes were on her. He didn't look the part, okay? I thought he was bluffing. I thought we could solve it quietly and move on. John stood slowly. Solve what? The inconvenience of a black man in first class? The discomfort of me sitting where you didn't expect me to? It's not like that, she stammered. Then what's it like? He asked. Explain to this cabin how bribery and appearance became your guiding tools for justice. Olivia stepped forward, waving a receipt from her phone. I made a donation to the airline. That should be respected. John turned to her. A bribe is not a donation, and your presence is not a privilege. It's a courtesy, one you just lost. Camilla, nearly trembling, reached out. Look, we've had overbookings. Mistakes happen. We're stressed. I'm sorry. Too late for that, John said. Because this wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Then he looked directly at Aiden. And you? Aiden's mouth moved, but no sound came. Grace lowered her phone just enough to whisper, You should say it, before the recording speaks louder than your silence ever could. Aiden exhaled slowly. She asked me to block the update, said she'd fix it after takeoff. I didn't know who he was. I was tired. You were compromised, John said. And you let your fatigue become bias. Layla checked her phone. Manifest correction confirmed. Timestamp matched to 9:59 a.m. Delay in sync caused by internal override from flight crew access panel. Camilla paled. What? Layla turned the screen toward her. You blocked his boarding from within the system, using internal clearance tools reserved for captains and senior flight staff, Olivia said quietly. I didn't tell her to do that. Camilla looked frozen. I thought it wouldn't matter. John spoke with quiet finality. It matters now. Grace lifted her phone once more. Statement complete? John nodded. For now. He turned to Camilla. You've misassigned my seat, accepted a bribe, lied about protocol, and humiliated me in front of paying passengers. Then, louder. Camilla Torres, Aiden Brooks, Captain Jacob Hayes, you're all done. Aiden flinched. Camilla stammered. You can't fire me. John didn't raise his voice. I just did, Michael whispered. Wait, what? Grace lowered her phone. Did he just... Olivia gasped. Who the hell are you? John looked around the cabin, calm again. You'll find out in a moment. But first, let's correct the record. Then he sat back in 1A and folded his hands in his lap as if the storm had already passed. But for the crew, it was just beginning. Camilla reached for the intercom with a trembling hand, her voice shaking but loud enough to command attention as she snapped. Security to gate 47B. We have a non-compliant passenger refusing relocation from first class. The cabin gasped. Olivia turned in her seat, lips parted, eyes wide as she realized things were spinning out of control. Wait, what are you doing? She hissed. I didn't ask for all that. But Camilla was committed now, voice climbing. Passenger is interfering with boarding, delaying departure, refusing valid crew instruction. John didn't even look at her. He turned to Layla and said calmly, Time? Layla, phone in hand, replied, 10:08 a.m., 7 minutes since her first demand, All recorded. HQ alert already sent. John gave a slight nod. Good. Keep filming. Across the aisle, Grace stood fully upright now, phone high, recording everything, her voice firm. This is being documented for public interest. Bribery, seat reassignment, and internal overrides. This isn't just a mistake. This is fraud, Aiden blurted out. She said it was protocol. She told me to bypass the update. Camilla turned to him, eyes wide with betrayal. You're seriously throwing me under the bus right now? You put me in this, he snapped. You said they always bend for Olivia. You said it's handled behind the scenes. John raised a hand to calm the now murmuring passengers, then stood slowly from 1A. Posture upright, gaze direct. Let's settle this right now, he said clearly. Check the original manifest. Confirm the system crash. Pull the override log. It'll show exactly when and how my seat was reassigned. All within your own flight control panel. Camilla shook her head. That's not possible. That's only accessible to... She stopped. Everyone felt the weight of the unspoken truth. Only flight leads and captains could trigger that override, Grace whispered. She just implicated the cockpit, Michael, voice heavy with disbelief, asked. You're telling me the captain knew? He was in on this? Olivia snapped. This is getting blown out of proportion. I was just trying to get home comfortably, Camilla hissed. This isn't about you anymore. Aiden's voice cracked. We've been doing this for months. Whenever someone from the priority tier comes through and the cabin's tight, we... He stopped himself, but it was too late. Grace lowered her phone slightly, stunned. Wait, you've done this before? Michael moved forward. How many people have you bumped out of first class based on their clothes? Camilla looked at them both and, in a burst of desperation, said the one thing she never should have said out loud. We had a verbal protocol, she admitted, breath shallow. Unwritten, but real. If a high-value white client tipped, and if the other passenger didn't look like they belonged, we were encouraged to shift the seat, quietly, for the sake of cabin harmony. Gasps broke out around the first-class cabin. Olivia stood up fully now. What the hell are you saying? Camilla ignored her. She looked right at John, trembling. You don't understand. I've been written up twice. I had to meet quotas. They told us to keep premium clients happy. I thought if she was willing to pay... John cut in, voice like steel wrapped in calm. You thought no one would challenge you, that no one recording, no one watching, would be powerful enough to hold you accountable. Layla stepped forward and tapped her earpiece. Sir, Amelia Grant is on standby. She's listening in now. John nodded. Then let's make it official. All statements recorded. Camilla Torres has just confessed to enforcing a discriminatory seat-shifting protocol for paying passengers based on visual identity and personal bias. Camilla backed up one step, then two. Her voice shrank. It wasn't just me? Who else? Layla asked. Name them. Camilla hesitated. Sometimes Captain Hayes gave the order. He said it protected the brand, Olivia interrupted, pointing furiously. You are not dragging me into this mess. I just gave a thank you tip. That's all. If anyone's to blame. It's whoever decided to make that a ticket to first class, Grace said plainly. You bribed a crew member. That's not tipping. And this is on video. Olivia's mouth opened, then closed, unable to spin. Michael moved closer to John. Do you want us to back you up if security shows up? John shook his head. No, I want you to bear witness. That's more powerful than a pushback. The intercom crackled again. Captain Hayes returned, voice now lower, uneasy. Cabin crew, please stabilize the situation. De-escalation is advised. Repeat, de-escalation is advised. John smirked slightly. He knows he's cornered. Camilla turned toward the cockpit, rage now mixing with panic. Jacob, say something. You authorized this. Don't leave me out here. But there was only silence. Olivia muttered, "This is insane. They're all acting like they've never accepted a gift in their life." Grace looked at her coldly. "This isn't about gifts. It's about abuse of power." Camilla broke down further. "I didn't invent the system, I was surviving it." John looked directly at her. "Then today, the system ends." Layla tapped her phone. "Sir, HR confirms. The verbal protocol was never authorized. If confirmed, it's grounds for immediate termination." John gave a nod. "Call it in." And then, turning back to the stunned cabin, he said, "Everything you just witnessed, every bribe, every bias, every lie, has been part of a pattern, and that pattern ends today with truth." Murmurs rose. Some passengers clapped softly. Others simply sat in stunned silence. And at the back of the aisle, 2 airport security officers arrived, but paused when Grace pointed her phone toward them and said, "If you touch him, you become part of this cover-up." They didn't move. They just looked toward the man in 1A and waited for his lead. John rose from seat 1A slowly, removing his glasses and reaching up with both hands to peel off the thick beard that had hidden half his face until now. Gasps rippled through the cabin as his full identity came into view. No longer a man in a plain white t-shirt, but the unmistakable face of John Marshall, billionaire CEO and founder of SkyPulse Airlines, standing not just as a passenger, but as the very owner of the plane, the company, and the future of everyone watching. Camilla staggered back like she'd been struck, her voice catching in her throat. Aiden's eyes widened in disbelief, and Olivia's face turned a ghostly shade of white, her jaw slack. "You," Camilla stammered. This has to be some kind of trick." "No trick," John said, voice calm and steady. "I'm John Marshall, chairman of SkyPulse. Every seat on this aircraft belongs to my name, and so does every decision about who stays in it, or who doesn't." The silence in the cabin thickened as the reality sank in. Layla stepped forward, holding up her tablet. "HR has confirmed Mr. Marshall's authority to execute terminations on the spot. Full documentation in progress. All audio and video logged." Grace, still filming, whispered, "This is history," Michael muttered. "This is justice." John turned slowly to Camilla. "You, Ms. Torres, demanded a man yield his paid seat based on a visual judgment and a cash offer. You refused a verified pass, ignored internal updates, and called for security on the very person who signs your paycheck." Camilla shook her head in disbelief. "I didn't know. I didn't realize it was you." "That's the point," John said. "You thought I didn't matter. Because of what I wore. Because I didn't look like wealth. You never asked who I was. You just assumed I couldn't possibly be the one in charge." Olivia stepped forward with a forced laugh. "Okay, so you're important. That doesn't change what happened. I offered a donation to help the airline. It was never meant to replace anyone." John turned to her. "You didn't donate. You bribed. And you used your appearance and your arrogance to pressure the staff into breaking the system. You exploited desperation and status. And now you're banned from ever flying SkyPulse again. Effective immediately." Olivia's mouth fell open. "Banned? You can't be serious." "Security will escort you off this aircraft," John said. "We don't allow money to replace morals at 4,000 feet. Camilla stepped forward in a panic. "Please, Mr. Marshall, this job is everything to me. I didn't mean—" "You meant every word you said." John cut her off. "And every choice you made led to this moment. You're terminated. Effective now." Aiden tried to speak. "Sir, I was just following Camilla's lead." "Mr. Brooks," John said without turning, "you knowingly misread a manifest, accepted an update, and suppressed it. You've been complicit in multiple incidents. I didn't know who you were. And again, that's the point, Layla added. Documentation of override suppression is being forwarded to Amelia Grant now. HR confirms breach of duty. John faced the front of the cabin. Let me be very clear. This wasn't one bad decision. This was a system, built on bribes, appearances, and cowardice, and every one of you played your part. Until now. Camilla slumped into the jump seat, hands trembling. Olivia was escorted out, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Aiden sat down slowly, silent, already knowing. Then came the voice from the overhead speaker. Captain Hayes. Mr. Marshall, I'd like to speak in private if I may. John turned toward the cockpit but didn't move. Say it here, Captain, in front of the people you failed to protect. There was a pause. Then the captain's voice returned, weaker now. I authorized some overrides, quietly, for certain passengers. I thought I was protecting the brand image. Grace shouted toward the ceiling. You protected prejudice, not a brand, John asked plainly. Did you log the complaints? Another pause. Then, I received multiple reports about bribery attempts. I deleted some. I didn't want another scandal. There it was. The huge twist. Not just silence or inaction, but an active cover-up. Layla's voice rang out from beside John. We have the records, sir. HR shows 5 bribery complaints filed in the last 4 months. None were escalated. 3 came from black passengers. 1 flagged Camilla by name, John said. And where are those logs now? Erased from crew systems, but backed up in HR's shadow archive. Amelia just confirmed access. John's voice was no longer soft. Captain Jacob Hayes, you are relieved of duty, effective immediately. This aircraft will not take off until a replacement is dispatched. Audible gasps rang out across the cabin. Aiden buried his face in his hands. Camilla was already crying, and Olivia, now escorted out, screamed from the terminal door. You'll regret this. I doubt it, John said. Then to the passengers. I apologize for what you've witnessed, but not for what I've done. This is accountability, and it's overdue. Grace lowered her phone slowly, tears in her eyes. Michael clapped, quietly at first, then louder, soon. Others joined him. A round of applause rose, not loud, not celebratory, but full of meaning. John returned to seat 1A. Exhaling for the first time in what felt like years, Layla leaned in and whispered, That was everything we needed. Sir, he replied. Now we start over. John stood and walked slowly down the aisle toward the galley, every eye in the first-class cabin following him in near silence. Layla walked just behind, holding the open tablet, her voice low but firm as she connected the line. Amelia, we're live. Confirm HR authority. A calm voice came through the earpiece. Confirmed. Mr. Marshall may execute immediate terminations under operational breach protocols. We've logged the full incident. John entered the narrow galley, cool air brushing across his skin as the door closed behind them. He took a breath, then gave the names one by one. Camilla Torres, Aiden Brooks, Jacob Hayes, and, he glanced down at Layla's notes, Aaron Lusk, the junior attendant who processed the override command from the crew panel. Layla spoke clearly into the mic. All 4 submitted for termination, effective immediately, supporting documentation, including video, audio, and witness statements, uploaded and signed. John didn't linger. He turned and walked back into the cabin, his voice steady as he stopped at the aisle midpoint and addressed the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. The 4 staff members responsible for the misconduct you witnessed have been officially relieved of duty. Your safety and dignity will never be traded for convenience or cash under my leadership again. A light murmur passed through the rows. Nods. Quiet exhalations of relief. Grace lowered her phone. He actually did it. Michael leaned forward. Not just words. Action, John continued. Effective today. We're launching a company-wide reform, the Pulse Equity Initiative. Every crew member, ground or air, will be retrained under new equity-centered protocols, with real-world bias testing, appearance, income, race. None of these will influence treatment aboard SkyPulse ever again. He turned slightly, addressing both passengers and cameras. I founded this airline to connect people, not to divide them. We failed today, and now we begin again, Layla added, voice strong. All past internal complaints previously unaddressed will be reviewed, and passengers mistreated under appearance-based bias will be contacted directly for redress. That was when Camilla stood, her face pale, but her voice suddenly hardening. You think this ends with me? She said. You think I was the only one doing this? John looked at her, eyes narrowing. Speak. Camilla's hands shook slightly, but her voice held. There's a Slack group, internal, crew only. It's not on company servers. It's private. They call it the Priority Quiet Board. It's where senior flight staff share tips on who can buy peace in the cabin. How much is worth what? How to bump someone who doesn't fit the vibe. It started as jokes. Then it became real, coordinated, executed. Grace's hand shot up with her phone again, capturing every word, Michael muttered. So this went way deeper. John stepped closer, his voice even. Do you have access? Camilla nodded. I was in it. Aiden too. Jacob moderated some of it. Olivia was mentioned dozens of times. She wasn't the only one tipping to displace people. They called it adjusted elegance. Layla's fingers moved fast over the tablet. I'm alerting Amelia. We'll need forensic review of all unofficial crew communication channels. Camilla's voice cracked now. I didn't want to keep doing it, but Jacob said if I didn't play along, I'd be written up again. I was already on probation. John didn't blink. You had choices, and you chose wrong. I know, Camilla whispered. But if I go down, they all should. Every one of them. Layla looked up. 7 override anomalies in the last 6 months, logged from Jacob's flights. Most involved seat reassignments from passengers of color. John looked around the cabin once more. Slower now. Then this initiative won't just retrain, it'll rebuild. He turned back to Camilla. Your confession will be logged, and your access ends the moment we touch the tarmac. Camilla didn't argue. She just sank back into the jump seat. Eyes hollow. John faced the passengers again. This is how we heal what's been broken. Not quietly, not politely, but fully, openly, and without hesitation. And for the first time that morning, a ripple of applause moved through the cabin, not just for justice, but for the truth finally being louder than the silence. By the time Flight SP-204 was cleared to depart with a replacement crew and a newly restored manifest, Camilla, Aiden, Jacob, and Aaron had been formally dismissed, their badges revoked and access terminated in real time. Olivia was long gone, her exit captured in full by Grace's camera as she screamed about lawsuits and reputations, none of which could shield her from the truth now living in every frame of that video. As the cabin settled, the energy shifted from tension to reflection. Layla sat beside John in seat 1A, reading through messages pouring in from Amelia and the SkyPulse board, all confirming full support for the Pulse Equity Initiative. Implementation begins tomorrow, Layla whispered. Every flight, every city, mandatory training across the board. John nodded slowly, glancing around the cabin where passengers had begun speaking quietly to each other, sharing their own experiences of being profiled, ignored, underestimated. Grace approached from across the aisle, extending her phone. I've been covering inequality for 12 years. I've never seen a CEO take action like this. You didn't just fire staff. You rewrote the culture in front of the world. John took a long breath. The world needed to see that change is not just possible. It's required. Michael leaned in from 3A, voice warm but steady. You reminded people like me that dignity doesn't have to beg to be recognized. You made sure we saw ourselves in first class. John gave him a nod of quiet appreciation. That's what equity means. Not appearance, not power, just humanity. Respected. Layla tapped the tablet again. Grace will receive a lifetime Sky Pulse pass. Complimentary. Signed off already. And Michael too. Business premium status for standing up when it mattered. Grace blinked, surprised. I didn't do it for perks. You did it because it was right. John said, which is exactly who we want flying with us. And just as the new flight attendants began checking in with passengers, a quiet voice called out from row 4D, an older man, dressed in standard crew uniform but seated as a passenger, stood and cleared his throat. Mr. Marshall, my name is Donald Ray. I flew with Skypulse for 11 years. I retired last spring. John turned toward him, recognizing the name from the old leadership roster. Mr. Ray, he said, you were head of in-flight operations during our merger phase. The man nodded, looking tired but resolute. Yes, sir. And I'm here today because I owe you and every person on this plane an apology. I knew about the Priority Quiet Board, not by name, but by practice. I heard whispers. I saw reassigned manifests. And I said nothing. I didn't speak up. I should have. The cabin went still again, the kind of silence that honors truth when it finally emerges. Donald's voice shook. Camilla wasn't the first. Neither was Jacob. We failed to protect passengers who didn't dress rich, look white, or fit some shallow expectation of what success should be. I was complicit by silence. I own that. John stood again. Thank you for telling the truth. That's the only way we move forward. Donald nodded. I believe in what you're doing. If you'll have me, I'd like to come back, not as crew, but to help train the next generation, to tell them what I failed to say when I had the chance. Layla looked at John, then back at Donald. The Pulse Equity Initiative will need a voice like yours. We'll be in touch. Donald returned to his seat, his face lighter. Grace turned off her phone and simply said, That was healing. And John, now seated once more, looked out the window toward the morning light breaking across the tarmac. We don't build legacy in silence, he said quietly. We build it in the wreckage of what we refuse to tolerate again. In the weeks that followed, Skypulse underwent a transformation. Bias complaint response times dropped from weeks to hours. Bribery protocols were dismantled entirely. The Pulse Equity Initiative became a model for other airlines, studied in industry journals and cited in equity training programs worldwide. Crew members who'd once dismissed passengers for wearing hoodies now held doors open and learned names. Every boarding pass scanned was double-checked, not for status, but for respect. And John Marshall's words, spoken on that aircraft during a 15-minute delay, were printed on plaques placed inside every Skypulse jet. Equity doesn't fly standby. It deserves a seat, every time. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently about who we dismiss and why, share it. Comment below with where you're watching from. Because accountability doesn't need permission. It needs voices. Yours.